office up in it. It's like, you must be a Subway freak.
No, actually, it has nothing to do with Subway. But when I was gone on my honeymoon back in the fall, a bunch of the developers decided to decorate the office up, and they did so much work that I haven't taken it down.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's been up for half a year now.
This is the first interview I've done in the office building, right? So
is
this
it?
This is the new building, right? I should take you out front and show you this brand new building.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, building 36.
Yeah.
Anyway, so who are you?
So I'm Brian Jones. Yeah, I could close the door.
Yeah.
So I'm program manager on the Word team. I've done in the past a lot of the work around XML, the XML file formats, support for customer-defined schemas and things like that. Wow. And then in this release, I've done a lot of work with some of the guys in PowerPoint, Excel, kind of pushing this XML file format across the 3 different applications, right, and getting this to the point where it's kind of powerful enough, a good enough format where we're ready to say this should be the new default format.
Okay, you just... I didn't know what you were going to talk to me about, but you just said new default format. Are you guys nuts? Wasn't the last time we changed formats? Wasn't that a pretty painful period for Microsoft?
Yeah, the last time we changed was Office 97. We introduced a new binary format that was the default. And yeah, it was pretty painful. And obviously we've learned a lot from that. It's not something that we take lightly by any means, right? In Office 2003, we had XML formats for Word and Excel. But they weren't really at the level where we felt that they were good enough to say these should be the default. We had a lot of people ask us, hey, can these be the default? People that were solution providers, they wanted to be able to rely on XML coming out of Office. But it just wasn't one of those things where we weren't ready to make that move yet. But we feel like with this new format, and there'll be plenty of discussions on this at Tech Ed and stuff like that to kind of get in the details of how it's structured and all that stuff. It really is so superior to the old binary formats in so many different ways that it's worth making that move to having it as the new default. But then on top of it, like I was saying, if you look at all the different pain points from 97, we feel like we've really we've learned from those. There are a number of things we're doing. One, obviously we can continue to use the old binary formats. So if you're not ready to make that move to the new format, if you're doing a staged rollout, for any reason you want to go and use the old binaries, you can. So you can set that to be the default.
I don't know anything about the new format, but you said XML, which means I'll be able to look inside the file and sort of see how the file format works, right?
Yeah.
Where the old file format was binary, and you had to be an assembler programmer to even look inside there, right?
Yeah, it was really difficult. In fact, just one of the things, just kind of evidence of how difficult it was, is the majority of corrupt documents that will get sent to us to look at are actually documents that are edited by outside applications outside of Office. And it's because of how difficult they were to work with. They were fairly easy to corrupt if you started dinking around with it, right? And the documentation was kind of hard to get at. With the new formats, it's there's going to be tons of documentation around it. It'll be similar to what we did in 2003, where there'll be an XSD file, actually a ton of XSD files, schemas, that fully document how the files are structured. And then in addition, we'll have a bunch of white papers on how to do various things. We're aiming to have by the betas to have about 100 examples of different things you can do. So we make it really clear how easy it is to go and work with this stuff.
Now the other thing is that as a geek or developer, you're giving me the file format, right?
Yeah.
That means that I can write my own application, right? My own
Absolutely.
Word or my own Excel. So why is Microsoft doing this? Because the myth the image I have of Office or of Microsoft is lock-in and control and not letting developers
which is absolutely not the case. We've had formats in the past that are accessible, RTF, HTML, and then the XML formats in 2003. They weren't really at the same quality level as the binaries in terms of file size, performance, and even full fidelity, right? But this is something where the format itself isn't really what we feel like is our advantage. The advantage is the application, right? All the functionality that you get. And then by allowing other people to go and build tools around our formats, if you want to go and build another Word, you can do that. But the more important thing is that people can go and build tools that leverage Word, so you can have server-side processes that go and automatically generate documents, right?
Well, this is awesome. This is what I've been Because now you can grow a whole new type of application that uses these file formats.
Yeah.
And we'll see a whole bunch of new innovation. At least
Absolutely.
That's
And
what
we benefit from it too, right? Like you can imagine all kinds of other tools in Office or even outside of Office that can now do things with Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files, right? You know, we can go and start building stuff into SharePoint that's smarter about the documents and breaking them out into fragments, maybe reusing pieces of documents to build up other documents. There's all kinds of cool stuff that we can start to build on top of it.
Wow. Now, how good is this format?
Oh, it's great.
If the developer was sitting here and he was looking at this format for the first time, would he be happy, sad? Would he? What's Slash not going to say? That's what.
What's Slash not going to say? That'll be kind of interesting to go and see. It's definitely going. It's being full fidelity, right? It's not a simple format, but at the same time, once you see the documentation and how it's broken down, it actually is pretty simple to do. Like if you wanted to go and generate your just typical Hello World file, it's pretty straightforward. Now, same within Office 2003, if you went and took a Word document, saved it out as XML, and cracked that open and looked at it, it would look very complex, right? Because there are so many additional properties, settings, and things like that that we store in our files. But if you're going and just generating a document from scratch, most of that stuff you don't even need to worry about. And once you start playing around with that, you'll learn that there are all kinds of things that you can ignore, and you start to figure out what the things are that you want to go get at. You know, if you want to just go find where there's bold text, that's really easy. It's a few tags that you're going and looking for. But then as you start to do more complex stuff, it gets more complex. And that's one of the benefits too, right, is that you can do anything. Anything that a Word document stores is exposed there in XML, and you can get at it.
Wow. If I open an old Word doc, maybe even a complex one, or Word, Excel, and PowerPoint are all going to have this new file format?
Yep.
And the file format's interchange. Can I open like a PowerPoint?
No, actually, so each one, so it's actually file formats, right,
okay.
Plural. So each application has different formats that just map the way that that application actually stores its structures, its files, right? So an example would, like, a lot of times, you know, when you kind of look at it at the beginning, when people are first kind of looking at this, they assume, well, why isn't just one universal format, right? That's like kind of one of the obvious questions. But it actually is really difficult, and it ends up kind of binding you up if you try and do that. So obviously Excel and Word are very different applications. We both have tables, right?
Yeah.
But the things you can do are so much different. If you try to go and create this universal format, you'd run the risk of having a format that neither application fully supported, right?
Yeah.
And so we'd have to then, essentially you'd have this one format that then has all kinds of comments saying, oh, this is in Word and Excel, this is just Excel, and it doesn't really give you a lot of benefit. And then even worse is going forward, you can imagine if we start getting a lot of demand from customers about some new functionality that we want to put into Excel. Well, that means we have to go now affect Word's format as well, trying to adapt Excel based on customers' demands.
Right.
So
now, if I open up a big Word doc, and let's say an old Word doc that I did in 1998, and I open that up in the new Word and then save it out in the new XML file format, how much bigger, or what's the size going to be?
Yeah,
is there any performance, size or performance?
So for size, once you save the new format, on average, we're finding that it's about a quarter of the original size.
Wait a second. It's a quarter, or is it a quarter bigger?
About a quarter of the original size.
So it's way smaller.
Yeah, we're using.
Why is that?
So we're using a zip container to hold the parts that make up the file. So if you go and look at the file, you know, you'll have this new Excel file. If you went and renamed the extension to .zip, for instance, and double-clicked on it, you could go see all the parts that make up that file. And we've gone and broken it out fairly granularly into parts. So, you know, each spreadsheet is its own XML file. Any embedded image are just JPEG files inside of the zip.
Why is it so much smaller? That doesn't make sense, right?
It's because the reason, so one of the surprises that the old binary formats didn't use compression, something that, you know, seems pretty straightforward. You know, we apply a compression, but really the binary formats, when we were building them, they were designed for editing off of a slow hard drive, editing a file off of a floppy disk, right? It was a different time back then.
Yeah.
And there wasn't any compression on the files. They were really just a straight map of our internal memory structures, right? So we could sit there and kind of slowly load things and just get at the things that we kind of needed. They weren't made as a persistent format. They really were almost like what you imagine the kind of cache to be while the file's being edited. Wow. Which is why they just weren't that great to be. They weren't great for exposing to outside developers, right? But these new formats, it really is more of a persistent format. So we go and write it in a way that it can be used, and it's compressed. It's just a bunch of XML parts inside of there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. Yeah.
So what else is cool?
Well, so like I was saying, it's essentially just zip with a bunch of parts in it. By using zip, it actually becomes a lot more robust too. With the old binary format, we didn't see a lot of corruptions. Like I said, most of the corruptions would come from the fact that people were trying to muck with the files outside of Office. But if you had like a bad hard drive or some transmission error and you lost some bits, it was pretty hard to recover that file, right? Yeah. With zip, since we have the file all compartmentalized, right, you can just, if you get a corruption, the only thing that has effects is that one part that got corrupted. You can still open the rest of the file. So what we do is we actually break the file out into a bunch of parts. We kind of give them priority based on how important we think those parts are. So all the content kind of goes at the front, styles, metadata goes at the back. And so you could go take a Excel spreadsheet, start transmitting it, cut it off halfway, and you can still open it up and see all your data. You just lose the additional information. So they get a whole lot more robust. It's great.
Yeah. Now searchability?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously we're going to go and provide. We'll have like a filter that goes and allows for search, like in SharePoint and things like that.
Or
the
for
fact that
desktop search, MSN.
Yeah,
MSN
right. Absolutely. Yeah.
I keep forgetting the name of the MSN desktop search. MSN toolbar.
MSN search, right?
Yeah.
But anybody, just because we're using zip and XML, and it's fully documented, so you can imagine building all kinds of really powerful search engines on top of this. That take into account more of the semantic information that's going on, not just plain text searches, things like that. Yeah, we really wanted to make sure that when we were designing this, like one of our biggest goals was we wanted this thing to be open, an open format that anybody can go and access. So that's why we did XML. That's why we chose zip. We looked at all kinds of different containers to store the XML. And we were like, zip is something that's already out there. There's other people that use it today for their formats as well. There's all kinds of tools that are available. So it was just, that makes sense. It made the most amount of sense. It was.
This is a new Microsoft, isn't it?
I don't know.
I mean, using other ideas and being a much more open file format and.
Well, I think that it's I mean, I think it's more that we've now looked at it and said it's important to expose this. It's not as much that we were never trying to like keep the binary formats locked down or anything. It was just they weren't designed to be easily accessible by other people, right? Like I said, they were really complex, and it just kind of led to problems when people started playing around with it.
Yeah.
Now we're designing these things so anybody can go and play around with and do anything they want.
How has it affected the Office team for development of the next Office? Has it made it easier to deal with it?
So it hasn't had a huge impact right now, other than the people that are working on the formats, obviously, right? Yeah. There's a pretty big team that's working on them. There aren't a lot of tools that are built on top of them yet because they're still in development. They're not nailed down yet. They'll slightly shift. Excuse me, even going through the beta cycles, right? It's more thinking about what this gives us for the next version as well, right? All the things that we can now go and build on top of it, things that we can do in SharePoint on top of the files, stuff like that.
Are you going to give me a demo of the new file?
I could probably show you, like, other than like saving a file, we could go and crack it open and kind of look inside of it. Yeah, I can show you a demo.
Sure.
One of the things I wanted to get to that you were also asking when you were asking about the pain points for users. The other thing that's really big that we're doing that we definitely didn't do in '97 is, again, we feel this format's so good that we're making it so that Office 2000, XP, and 2003, we're going to provide updates so they can all open and save the new format as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so even older customers can go just update their version.
Now, which ones were those again?
2000, XP, and 2003.
Okay. So quite a large installed base out there.
Yeah,
of people.
very large.
So it's going to be a download that will they get that automatically, or you have to go to the website?
You go to the website. It'll be something where I'm not sure if it'll be like an automatic push or not.
Okay.
But it'll be something where it's just essentially like a little update that you apply, and then what can happen is all of a sudden those new formats are just understood formats. You can go double click on it, open it, make some edits, and save.
Now on MSDN, are you going to put out lots of white papers for developers?
Oh yeah, a ton. We did a decent amount in 2003 with the schemas, but it's mainly more around just the schemas themselves. We didn't have a lot of like best practices and things like that. And so we're definitely going to provide a lot of information. And then I'm going to actually start blogging, for the next at least year and a half specifically on this, like answering questions, seeing what kind of tools people want to see, and responding to that. So as people start to say, hey, this is really complex, I don't understand how to do this, we'll go and react to that and provide more white papers and tools around that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anything else that we should know about the new file format?
There's just a ton. So.
What are you guys going to announce at Tech? So at Tech Ed, you're going to announce the new file format.
So it's actually going to be announced just before Tech Ed.
Okay.
And then at Tech Ed, we'll be down there and we'll have a couple sessions on the format, and we're bringing down. So I'll be down there. The guys from PowerPoint, Excel, we'll all be down there ready to answer their questions. They have like this cabana set up or something, where we can all just kind of hang out and people.
Now
can
will any of those sessions be on the internet for developers around the world to listen in on? Or?
I don't. Oh, you mean like live
or even recorded?
I don't know what they. I think that Tech Ed they do some kind of recording and posting, but I'm not positive.
Okay. Well, we'll try to point to anything that comes up.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be something where even if they don't, we could probably look into getting it up there so that people can view it. At least having like the deck and example files and stuff like that posted.
So you covered backward compatibility or forward. I just went through this with the .NET compatibility folks, and they explained why forward compatibility is really backward. And backward is forward.
And they're all actually really important too. Right?
Yeah. So the old, if I have an old version of Office, I have to download an update so I can open a new file format.
Yeah.
If I have the new Office that's coming out sometime in the future, I'll be able to open old binary formats and save out. I'll be able to save as both binary or XML?
Yeah, you can save as either one that you want.
Good. So if I need to send one to a friend who still is living in the dark ages,
absolutely, you can just save it as binary. In fact, and if he sends you a file that's binary, you open it up, make some changes, save. It's not like you're forced to upgrade it or anything. It's just kind of seamless for you.
Excellent. Any other QAs that you expect to get? Should cover. I can't think of. This is pretty shocking announcement. I'm still trying to get used to the idea that I'm going to have open file formats to play with on all.
Yeah, no, it's great. They're fun to play around with just already. Obviously, they're still in development, so it's kind of neat to see it all starting to come together and the different things that get exposed.
Right.
I mean, it's cool the stuff you can do, right? Like take for example personal data, like comments and track changes and stuff like that. You kind of see these articles every once in a while about somebody publishing a file that had deletions that they didn't know about, and all of a sudden there's this big embarrassment, right? Because that stuff gets exposed because it's up on the web.
Yeah.
Well, since it's just all XML, you could actually go, say you want to delete the comments, you could just go crack open the zip, find the thing that says comments.xml, click on it, hit delete, and the comments are just gone. So you can start to build these tools just into your workflow processes that say, before a file goes to the web, run this little script that runs through and just deletes everything, like all the personal data, all the author names and stuff like that, and scrubs it, right?
Awesome.
There's just all kinds of stuff that anything that people want to do that kind of starts to open up.
Awesome.
And do it. Yeah.
Now, is there a transform to save to HTML? There's one.
So there's still there's still the saved HTML functionality in all three applications.
You're not talking about that today, right? Or are you allowed to talk about the quality of that? Is that format going to change at all? Or?
No, that's not changing. That'll just be the same. Okay. The other thing that we did in 2003 though is we had an XSLT that you could go and apply to the word processing ML from 2003 that converted it into HTML. Okay. And so we'll go and want to provide a similar tool to that. Okay. It's actually it actually is available as an add-in where you can go and apply it to IE, and then any Word ML file that you go and click on, it'll open and automatically apply that XSLT so that you get the view of it. Cool. And so we'll have similar tools to that. Cool. Yeah. Anything else we should? Any other stupid questions I should ask about the format? It's a good starting point. Obviously, there's a ton more information to kind of get into as you go, right? Yeah, I'm sure you guys will have all sorts of websites and and it'll also be over to those. So. Yeah, there'll be a bunch of stuff like that, and I'm sure in 15 minutes I'll think of something. I wish I would have asked that. Send me an email, Well,
we'll get you up on Channel 9 answering questions too. So
yeah, definitely.
Other Channel 9 guys always ask good questions. So.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you want to give me a demo?
Yeah, sure.
We might have to. Let me stop because I have to make sure that you're on 60 hertz. So
Okay.
I'll be right back. So we're back. We got your screen resolution.
Yeah,
set up properly.
let me go and grab like a picture or something that I can drag in here
Cool.
to show an example. So I haven't even really tried this build yet, so we'll see if it crashes or anything.
Is this the first time we're going to see the next version of Word?
This isn't the next version of Word. This is Word 2003 with the update
we were
installed.
hoping to get a look at the new version.
Sorry.
Gotta wait for that, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry to say.
Yeah.
Oh.
I hear it'll be soon. So we're looking at the existing version of Word, and you've already applied the. What are you calling it? The update, or?
Yeah, it's just an update that you
Okay.
can apply to it.
And
Yeah,
so you
that's
can
not
actually
applied.
open up. You're opening up an existing Word document.
I'm actually just going to go create one from scratch because
Okay.
I don't have I wasn't planning the demo, so
Oh,
we're getting an ad hoc demo here.
excellent! Those are the best kinds.
That's right. All right, so let's go and we'll add some text here, and let's go and say I want to insert a picture. Let's go and insert that guy, and save file, save as, and we've got. Oh, come on! There we go. So it's just called Word 12 right now. Oh, the other thing I didn't talk to is the fact that the extensions are going to change too.
Okay.
So instead of DOC, XLS, and PPT for the 3 files, it'll be DOCX, XLSX, and PPTX.
Okay.
That's actually a big mistake that we made in '97, where we introduced this new binary format, but we stay with the same extension, and so you had no way of knowing what version that file was from, what format was inside of it, right?
Right.
So now we have the new extensions. You see the DOCX.
I assume with a new version of Office, there'll be a new icon as well, or?
Yeah, well, it's just in the way that we update our icons every time and make them look more modern, right? But
Yeah.
so in that way, yeah. And they'll still just look like a Word file when you look at them on the desktop.
Excellent.
So go save that as test. I don't know what that warning was all about. Okay. Like I said, this is just a demo machine, so.
Yep. No. Pre-beta.
Yep,
so.
yep. All right, there we go. So let's go and rename that to be .zip. Cool.
Yeah, we want to change it.
All right, crack that guy open. And there we go. So inside of this, one of the things that you'll see that we're doing, see how there's a Word document, DOC file in there as well. So right now, while we're doing our development, since the schemas keep changing build to build, we actually save a duplicate binary copy inside of the zip file as well. So
Okay.
that if we're opening a file from an older build, we can just go and grab that binary copy instead. Obviously, when we go and ship, there's not going to be 2 copies of the file saved
Got it.
out.
Yeah.
Right? But you see here that we've got like an XML, there's an XML part here for the fonts, for the styles, the document properties, and then I can go here into this folder and there's that image, right? So I can just go and click on that and open it up and there's that image that I had saved out.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so if I wanted to go and replace the image, right, I could just go grab some other image, just drop it in there and replace that image
That's
that I had.
awesome.
Yeah, the thing's even cooler is that it's going to be the same thing for embedded objects. So if you have an Excel file embedded in a PowerPoint presentation, and you go and crack open that PowerPoint file, you'll just see an Excel file there you can drag out, open up on its own, edit.
Now, that's a good question. If I have an Excel file with an image in it, will it have a tree structure inside the zip similar to this?
So it would be a zip in a zip. So you could go and crack that guy open as well and get at that image.
Awesome.
So you can just keep digging deeper and deeper if you have all kinds of embedded objects.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This is going to make moving to the web or other things a lot easier for a lot of people.
Yeah, some of the other stuff that we do within these files that, when you look at it in the zip structure, it just looks like it's kind of a folder structure. But really, the way that we go and open these files and tell what parts to go and get is that we have this way of creating relationships from one part to another. So if you imagine a PowerPoint presentation, you kind of have the start part, which is the presentation XML itself, right? And then that would have relationships to all the different slides. And then all the slides would have relationships to like the styles, the images that they have embedded. And so what you can do is you can quickly go and navigate through the structure of the file and find the relevant piece you're looking for. And if you want to go and grab like a slide, for instance, and move it out of that presentation into another one, you'll also see all the resources that guy uses, so you can go grab all that relevant data as well. Yeah. So like you can imagine, right, if you wanted to go and remove the macros from any file, like the VP project, you go and crack it open, you find the start part, you find the relationship to the macro part, you just go there and you delete it, and now there's no code in your file, right? Oh, wow. It's just that easy. Wow. Other stuff that we do to make it to make it more extensible, as if it's not already, devy, cool enough for devs. We make it so that you can go and take your own XML files and just drop them in there as well, and they can travel around with the document. So if you're building a solution and you want to have additional XML data that you track with a file, that can just sit there inside of this file. You can go and get at that anytime you want. And even when you have the file opened up in the applications, you can get at that via the object model. So if you had all kinds of extra workflow data you wanted to trace and stuff like that, you can go program it directly against that. Crack open the zip, go get at your XML, and you have all that data that you had.
That's killer.
Yeah, it's pretty slick.
This is good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
And what's the quality of the XML? Did we want to go and look at?
We can go look at the. I don't have. I think all I have for opening this up is like Notepad right now. But let's go and.
That's the ultimate.
Yeah, but actually we don't.
XML tool, isn't it?
We don't pretty print them though, so it's not the ultimate. It's just one.
Actually, Visual Studio has a lot of really cool.
Yeah, they do.
Tools.
On this image, though, I don't have that. Actually, no. Here we just have it opened up in Explorer.
Ken Levy has given us several demos.
So you've got like the theme information. Like I said, when you first look at it, it looks really complex. There's a bunch of namespace information that's there, but really, it's pretty straightforward stuff. You
now,
just
what's a
learn.
namespace?
So namespace is, so let's say, look at this right here. So we've got XML_AML,
yeah,
and then we've got this URL essentially right here, right? It's actually a URI. So that's just saying that any XML tag that you see that has an AML in front of it, it's associated with that URI. So it's just like, that's just a shorthand way of going and actually declaring like, this is my XML. This is that way I can go and find the schema that's related to that namespace, and I know how to validate it. It's just an easier way since XML is so generic, right? It's the
now, what's a schema? Just for the beginners.
Just for the beginners. Man, we could go a long way to try and get people caught up on XML. So a schema.
Maybe we should do that. A whole XML.
No, I think that'd be excellent. That'd be really good. So schema is essentially just the grammar, the description of how your XML is supposed to be structured, right? So in Word, we have a Word document, and then inside that Word document you can have like a table or a paragraph. Inside of a table you can have a row with cells. So the schema goes and defines that. It says that there's a tag called Word document, there's a tag called table, there's a tag called row, right? And so by using the schemas, you can tell how you're supposed to structure the files. And then there's all kinds of great tools out there to go and take the schema, apply it to the XML, and you're told whether or not it's valid. So it's a quick check to see if you actually constructed it the right way before you go and open it up in the application.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, anything
then
else?
You see there's
any other quick and dirty lessons we should
text
have
right
about
there.
XML? Yeah, there's the text that we wrote.
Yep, and then there's the image. Let me scroll down here. So there's that picture that we had in there. So you see there's a picture right here, and there's some all this stuff is just layout information on where the picture goes.
Okay.
And then right down here is where you see this rel ID 4.
Yeah.
So that's where you have the relationship out to the other part. So like I said, any reference that you make from one part to another is done via these relationships. So it becomes really easy if I wanted to go and change this to point at a different picture. I don't have to go crack open this XML part to change it. I can just go and modify the relationship. And so it becomes really easy to start to change how things relate to each other. Like if you want to change the order of slides in a presentation, right? It's really simple to go and do.
Wow. It's in a whole new world.
I know. We've been waiting for so long to be able to start talking about this too, so it's pretty exciting.
Congrats to the team. This is really, really neat.
Yeah, they've done an amazing job. Really.
I mean, I remember opening up previous XML files, and they weren't this easy to read. So in previous versions, so it looks like it's
coming along.
A lot of work to make sure that developers can get in there and really understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Well. And like I said, we really want to be able to react to what people need and provide tools. So we'll be listening as we go over the next year and a half or so.
Now, how will people get their hands on this? Do they have to wait for Office 12 or?
No, they don't have to wait for Office 12. I'm not sure the exact timing, but there's going to be there's kind of like a staged rollout over the next year and a half, both like obviously from the betas, beta 1, beta 2, and things like that. We want to have the schemas available really early, hopefully even well before the betas come out, like a first draft of the schema, so people can go and see like what the filers are going to look like. And then when you get the beta, obviously you get the updated schema that matches that.
Okay.
But obviously we're coming out with this information really early compared to when we're planning to ship, right? Well before the beta. So it's something we do want to get out there, let people start learning about, playing around with, and really know what's coming.
Well, this is great stuff. Thanks for spending a little bit of time showing us these new file formats
Yeah, no problem.
even before they're announced. So,
Yeah,
thanks.
definitely.